looking at the new record and reading through some of the lyrics, I guess you'll be voting Republican on November the 4th, right?
Straight conservative Republican. Yeah.
This is a, you know, I mean, there is some shall we say, left-wing elements to what you guys stand for, what you guys preach, what you guys sing about. There's a lot of patriotism on this record. I mean, you are still proud of being from the country that you're from. You're just not particularly thrilled with the way that's being run and operated right now.
I think there's a lot, like America's history is rich with dissent. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that Americans have forgotten about here in the present day. You know, I think that our country was born out of dissent. It was born out of things like the Boston Tea Party, you know what I mean? And just our civil rights movement, and just so many things that we have now in America, we have because somebody, you know, stood up and said, I'm sick of this and I want it to change. And I think that, you know, in the time that we live in now, that stuff is really sort of, it's kind of discouraged, it's sort of frowned upon, you know? And I think that, there might be an element of patriotism. It's a different brand of patriotism, you know, than I think most Americans think of, you know. I think that when most Americans think of patriotism, or at least like the patriotism that exists today, it's like bloodthirsty, trigger-happy, you know, people looking for Bin Laden, you know what I mean? And like that's not the kind of patriotism that we subscribe to.
Okay, it is November the 5th, 2008. You wake up, President John McCain, Vice President Sarah Palin. Now what?
It would certainly...
We call you guys to see if you can get us some deals on real estate.
Yeah.
That's what our friend Steve Nightingale said earlier.
Yeah, it would be... It's funny because we were, Election Day 4 years ago, we were in Montreal with Bad Religion. And after the show, we were watching the results pour in. Of course, we're sitting there around a TV with Bad Religion all watching it. And it was obviously a real somber moment, you know, on the tour. And I imagine that if something like that would happen, it would also be a somber moment on our tour. But it made, as I watched those results kind of unfold and realized that we were looking at another 4 years of this administration, it made me also look around at the guys that I was with, you know, our band, Rise Against, and also the guys from Bad Religion, and it made me so grateful that bands like Bad Religion exist, that bands like us exist, and it just made our mission that much more of a challenge, but still a valid mission.
Okay, it's November the 5th, and you guys have been elected presidents. Your first 100 days, what are you going to do?
Start a war somewhere, right?
Why not?
Yeah, that's what presidents do.
Sure.
First 100 days, I mean, where do you really begin? You cut America's defense spending. Number one, you put more money into schools, less money into defense. That's a good place to start. You put a focus on the environment, put a focus on alternative energy sources, you know, things like that.
Healthcare.
You fix the healthcare, you know, in America, you know, issues like that.
It's ridiculous. Our country, every larger country that's not, you know, in the world has either free or cheap healthcare. In our country, it's
United States, Libya, and South Africa.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And what we have to pay for it is appalling. It's amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Election reform, certainly something. Obviously, somebody screwed up and put us in office, so, you know. But election reform, you know, because, you know, that somehow you need to balance that playing field and have it so, you know, that elections aren't only available to basically rich people, you know.
One thing I really, really appreciate and admire about Rise Against is the fact that you guys insist that your audience be smart, or at least get smarter. For example, you quote Picasso in your liner notes, and there's a reading list of books that you believe that your fans should read. What's A People's History of the United States?
People's History of the United States is a book by Howard Zinn. It's a fabulous document of history in America that has been sort of glazed over by the history books that we're taught. Just like, you know, I think, you know, when I went to school, things like the genocide of the Native Americans was really kind of glossed over. You know, events like Thanksgiving were glossed over, the real facts of that. And it starts there, in that book. It starts with that. It talks about slavery, it talks about the Civil War, World War I and II. And it's sort of the voices, it's a voice for the voiceless, really, that whole book. It's kind of the parts that history forgot, and important parts of history that changed and shaped our country that many teachers or many education systems don't want to tell you. Because it's all very revolutionary. It's all very, it's people that are active and people that are politically active. It's protest. It's anarchy. It's just a lot of important things that help shape the country. And nowadays, it's like, if you support this, you don't support the troops. You know what I mean? If you support this, then you support terrorists. And it's this backward logic that the administration has sort of forced upon America. And what we do with a lot of this stuff is we remind our listeners that the things that we're talking about aren't new to 2008. These are the ideas like dissent, subversive ideas are timeless. You know what I mean? And in a lot of ways, really important to our country. I think we put Picasso quotes in there, Howard Zinn, all kinds of stuff. And they're just letting people know, like, this has been rich in our history. We're not just some punk band who came out and we're spouting out all these ideas. Like, we learned them from people who helped shape our country.